Welcome to ValleyHoopsInsider.com. It's with a program we call it Voices of the Valley, and I had to sneak and cheat a little bit to get Bob Ramsey in. Does do some Missouri Valley things from time to time.
Right.
Hall of Famer, St. Louis U basketball announcer Bob Ramsey is with us. And Bob, first, for people that maybe don't know who you are as much, people from the Valley or the OVC, tell us about you, your background, and then how long for you here at SLU?
Well, you know, I've been doing college basketball since the 1981-82 season. Started off with a school that's no longer Division I, Centenary College. And then I went from there to Louisiana Tech when Karl Malone was there. And people know him more from the NBA. And I was really lucky. And then I accidentally sort of moved back to St. Louis just before the Valley moved back to St. Louis, right before Doug Elgin came in as commissioner. And I've been broadcasting St. Louis U basketball since. This is my 33rd season.
33 years. That just means he's old, bottom line.
I'm saying we, just to get us in there.
That's right. Bob and I both used to work at Paramount Liquor on the north side of town, loading liquor trucks in the middle of the night. That's where we've come from.
How about that? That's a long, long time ago. Good jobs, though.
Yeah,
it was really a good job,
absolutely.
even though it was overnight. Yeah, it kept me going while I was trying to get my career started.
And we both married beautiful women that were college athletes here at SLU. So, you know, we've got a lot in common.
Absolutely.
So talk about the highs of being a play-by-play broadcaster for a school like SLU, and maybe even give us one or two memories, those highs.
Well, you know, what I really loved was coming in as Rich Grauer was building the program. Anthony Bonner's freshman year was my first year here, and then seeing that grow and peaks. The thing about, as you cover better than anybody in the country, that mid-majors are almost always going to face those highs and lows. The schools that can be consistent winners, like Belmont, who's facing SLU today as we tape this, those are the creme de la creme. Those are the really fun ones. The rest of us, we're going on that roller coaster ride, but kind of makes it really, really fun. I guess for me, seeing an unbelievable NBA talent like Larry Hughes come through St. Louis U, but then those 2 or 3 or 4 year magical years when everything comes together, the Spoonball era, and then the Rick Majerus era, and now we hope we're seeing the beginnings of a new great era with Travis Ford here. And so I think seeing those things come together and hit a peak, that's really fun.
For those of in St. Louis that pay attention to the Billikens and listen to you, they know that, like, even from your broadcast spot, you're trying to officiate once in a while. Talk about that.
Well, the way I try and reconcile that with perhaps a journalistic side that sometimes you lose track of is that I do intentionally try to make the listener feel like they're sitting right next to me. What would we be saying to each other if the listener were here with me? I work for St. Louis University. I want SLU to win, and I think that's pretty clear.
It's radically clear.
I think that message gets across.
But that's exactly what you do. Like, if I'm listening, if I'm not here and I'm listening, I'm thinking, oh, there was just a tragic call, and Bob's unhappy, and he's also trying to let the referee know as he's running down to the other end.
You know, I think there is a one-on-one communication that occasionally happens courtside.
It's a lot of fun to listen to you and Earl. Earl Austin Jr., great partner. Talk about him a little bit.
Earl Austin, I got to tell you, I've been so lucky. I think this is his 28th year maybe with us being together. I think I'm the luckiest play-by-play guy in the world because Earl really takes a lot of pride in making the partnership work on the air. We're friends off the air. That's easy. But make it work on the air and make it be seamless. If there's ever a time where maybe, you know, we kind of collide on the air, I promise you it's my fault. It's my fault. Earl is the best. Now, take that professionalism and add to it his knowledge, not only of the game and the X's and O's, which he is the best, but also his knowledge of the participants, what their pedigree is, where they kind of fit in to the world of college basketball. He brings all of that to the table. And then he, too, has the emotional side where you know it's heartfelt. It means something to him. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
I've worked with Earl. He is great. And as a play-by-play guy, I always think the color analyst, if that's the right term for it, makes the play-by-play guy better.
When you're lucky enough to have that guy, absolutely. And Earl makes the broadcast better. I may be too far gone for him to actually help me, but he makes the whole product sound a little better.
Talk about, announcers have catchphrases. Yours, of course, is this jam time thing. Did you think that up? Did it come naturally one time? Talk about that.
I have very, very little original material. No, what happened was going way back to the 80s. I mentioned Anthony Bonner, and there was Monroe Douglas and Roland Gray. Athletic. Seemed like everybody had 40-inch verticals. And the promotional theme for that era was sit in on a jam session. The sports information people came to me and said, if you think of anything you can help out to help us market this deal. And I admit from the beginning, jam time's kind of hokey, but it kind of caught on, and it was initially just to help marketing for the program. And it sort of happened. And that was the thing. That was an intentional one.
A number of years ago, St. Louis U went into the Atlantic 10, much to the chagrin and the hand-wringing of Missouri Valley people that wanted SLU to come to the Missouri Valley. Can you contrast the A-10 and the Missouri Valley Conference?
Well, that's really hard because I'm an unabashed Missouri Valley honk. I also am really respectful of the Ohio Valley. I think what the A-10 brings is historically a multi-NCAA bid conference. They've only been a one-bid conference once in the last 30 years. Check me on that, but I think that's pretty close. And so moving there, and most of the schools are non-football Catholic. And I've always believed, and I think the university thinks it as well, you want to look like the people in your conference. And I think that fits with the Atlantic 10. Now, what I miss is the easy travel for the Missouri Valley. That's being selfish, but and then you get to know from over the years of playing all these schools, you get to know all the play-by-play guys and most of the coaches and some of the players, and it does feel like family. Unfortunately, it's a little bit more distant than it used to be, so this time of year around Thanksgiving, it's good to think about those guys. And we still have the Carbondale relationship. I'd like to get back to the Missouri State relationship, and it seems like we're always, pulling in a rivalry this year with Belmont, and we've had other Ohio Valley schools come in. I'd like to see us do more of that. I think regional rivalries are good for the development of the game in our region.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know how long ago they tabbed you Hall of Famer, like you entered into the Hall of Fame. What was that like? I mean, talk about that honor, that phone call, that honor that you, I think, richly deserve. But talk about just what was that like for you?
I'm overwhelmed. It meant something to me. I've done Missouri Valley games where I have no rooting interest, and I've been really lucky in my career to do things away from basketball where you're the neutral guy and all that, and it's fun. And I'm really glad I've had those opportunities. My motivation has always been to be, maybe it's the frustrated jock in me, I've always just wanted to be part of the team. And for that to come my way from the university, I mean, that's the ultimate, hey, you're part of us and part of our history. I kiddingly say it's sort of an attendance prize. I hung around long enough, they had to do something with me. But seriously, it is one of the greatest honors I've had, maybe the greatest honor in my career.
So special, and he deserves it. I do want to talk about your off the court, away from sport, not away from sports, away from the media thing. Tell us a little bit about the baseball project down in the Lake of the Ozarks.
Well, me with a handful of partners are developing a youth baseball project. Even though all the stuff we're talking about has been basketball, since I was a little kid, I'm a baseball guy. And now my kids, I don't get to coach them anymore. And we had an idea, and we just said, hey, we want to make a facility that trying to do things right and promote youth baseball and have a place that is also a destination for families. Dads that are coaching and kids, they want to go play ball. But when you can bring the family involved and have a resort-type location to go with it, we think that's the perfect marriage for it. It's called Ballparks National. Website will be up by the time you put this online. It'll probably be up. So look for us, Ballparks National, and we're really, really excited. I said baseball, but also women and girls softball too. And we're just really excited to be a part of the Lake of the Ozarks Resort feel.
No fast pitch softball for the men. You were the Browns announcer way back in the day.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Hummers, the women. It's the women. No, I didn't do much of that on a regular basis.
Right.
But that was the first women's pro softball league. It was back in the late 70s into the early 80s here in St. Louis. But yeah, it was really my first paying gig was women's softball. So I've always had an affinity and a great feel for that. And so, yeah, we hope that, any way we can support the growth of baseball and softball, we want to do it.
I do want to brag before we finish. The people here at SLU are great. Like I used to be the women's play-by-play announcer way back in the day. So for a few years, worked here at SLU. You've been doing it for a long time. Just brag on the university and the people around here.
Well, I think it goes back to, for me, I came in right about the same time as Father Biondi, the former president of the university. And I think he felt, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I got from him that he knew we had to have growth here in the Midtown area, physical growth and development of the stature of the university, and the physical plant and presence in Midtown. I call it now the jewel of Midtown, and I'm honored that sometimes some of the marketing folks here use that phrase, but to see that was going to have to be the future of St. Louis University, and it's carried on now to Dr. Postello, who's the president, and you've seen that growth. It's been physical over the time I've been here. And then to see what's happened athletically, the resurgence of soccer, men and women, and having Chaffetz Arena on campus, having the first time ever an on-campus facility. To be around all of that growth, it's meant a lot to me, and I think it's been meant a lot to the city in the Midtown area, that it's extended to the theater district with the Fox Theater and Powell Hall, which is next door. To see the synergy that all that's brought, it's fun to be, even in a small part, a part of it.
It's Bob Ramsey. He's the Hall of Fame broadcaster for St. Louis University. You've been watching Voices of the Valley. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Harry.